Talitha Kumi just means, little girl, I say to you, rise. I was just at a really dark place, and so it was like, hey, like, rise up out of that. Like, we're not going to be in this pit anymore.
How did it all work out that your brother didn't get to succeed at Texas A&M and you've now won a national championship? If I didn't ask that, I would have been hitting myself on the head. So we'll start there.
No, yeah. I mean, it's a funny story how it all worked out, and I don't think any of us would have planned it or could have even thought it would happen. I never thought I'd be playing volleyball at Texas A&M. Like, even 4 months before I committed, I was like, no, I would never play there. But I also just think it's really cool how, like, it was all redeemed. Like, Eli's time there was not favorable, I guess. It wasn't great. I feel like the team as a whole, for him, like, it was a rough little patch there. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know. I guess I've never really even thought about how it like flipped like that. It was just cool for me to go somewhere where Eli had been, but to think about the two, how our times at A&M have been completely different is hilarious to me.
It's just wild that your redemption comes in the place where he started.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, I mean, we have some fun stories in this household across the board. I mean, even like my dad, when he was playing pro, ended up tearing his ACL and had to come back. And that's kind of just the joy of our family. Whatever, we take some punches, we just keep rolling with it and, find a way through it. So, yeah, I know Eli and I, for sure, we have some crazy stories to tell, and we'll go back and forth on that all the time. But it's just really cool, honestly, to see how the Lord has worked in both of our lives of like, hey, there's going to be hard times, but like we've both kind of seen the mountaintop of it all. So
you come into Baylor, you start really, really hot, and then you get injured. Just talk about kind of the injury now. What exactly happened? Tell me from your point of view. I was able to research it, but tell me from your point of view what happened to Baylor.
I graduated early, so I got there in January of 2023. Like you said, started off really strong. Preseason awards were coming out. I was supposed to be like preseason freshman of the year and all that kind of stuff. I'd earned a starting spot in, April after being there for 3 or 4 months. And yeah, everything seemed to be going really well. Obviously, freshman in college, there's like a few hiccups, just learning the ropes and everything. I think it was June that summer, we're doing summer training. And in the summer, the coaches can't be in the gym and doing some drills. And I just, take a ball to the head. And it wasn't anything like crazy, but it did just enough for the trainer to have to, pull me out for a couple weeks and let the headaches and the dizziness and stuff go away. And so that was the first one, but I was completely healthy and cleared once preseason started. And so I think it was like 11 games or something of preseason, and everything was going perfectly fine. I was playing it really well for a freshman, putting up good numbers and all the things. And then our very last preseason game against SFA, there was a ball I like dove on the ground to dig, and then the ball was like directly above me as I'm still laying on the ground. So one of my teammates goes to play it and just takes her, like, obviously not intentionally. She's trying to like, hurdle over me or like not run into me, but it's kind of hard to do in small quarters. And so she ends up just like kneeing me. It was kind of like on my temple, like on the side of my head. And I ended up finishing out the rest of that game. But then like that night, went home, some different things happened. I like couldn't remember parts of the game and stuff like that. And so they also found the video of it, and it wasn't very pretty. And so they pulled me for another concussion. And then I came back, went through all the protocol, came back to play. I think it was like 2 weeks later maybe. And now we're in conference play. I missed a couple games, but now we're in conference play against Kansas State. Played those 2 games, and I wasn't me. If you ask my family, my mom, my aunt came to a couple of my games. They literally were just like, we would see you and like, we weren't seeing Kyndal. Like the life was kind of gone from your eyes. Like something just wasn't right. And so after those Kansas State games, I got to practice off. My coach was like, hey, like you just got to recover, like take some time. And in this practice that was supposed to be a rest day, not anyone's fault, but I was like shagging balls. So I was being a target for the passers, and people were serving behind me, and someone served the ball and it like went through the net and like hit me on the back of my head. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So now at this point, like all of those concussions, like individually, if you had spread them out, really weren't that bad, but they just were like bang, bang, bang. Like it was 3 and 2 months, basically, or like 2.5 months. And so that's obviously concerning, and specifically 2 in like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And so they decided to pull me for the rest of that fall. So it was fall of 2023. but they were like, "When you come back in the spring, we're good, you can keep playing. Just don't get another concussion." And so, come back in the spring, I was back for I'd also had some other random things. I had, like, a sinus surgery and stuff, in the meantime of all of that going on, so by the time I did come back in January, I had been playing for 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, and got another ball to the head. And so there's, like, a lot of different parts of this, a lot of ways you can view it because the brain's an interesting thing of honestly, like I said, each individual one probably really wasn't that bad, but when you add the, like, emotional, like, exhaustion of it all, of, like, "Holy cow, I just keep getting hit in the head, like, I don't know how this happens." It's just draining, and so the doctors were like, "Okay, well, if you wanna keep playing, we can look at you have to redshirt this year, but, we can look at that path, or if you wanna be done, like, I'll sign off on a medical retirement." I get either way. And so at the time, my head hurt, obviously. She was like, "Well, I'm not gonna let you make a decision because 'cause you're still actively concussed, so we'll wait until, that's gone and you're cleared for, your brain to be thinking properly for you to make a pretty big life-changing decision." And so, honestly, in the meantime, for a lot of that, I really thought I wanted to be done. I was like, "This is insane. My head hurts. Getting tired of getting hit in the head with the ball. I feel like if I come back, I'm just gonna get hit again. That seems to be the way this is going." And honestly, I've said this so many times, like, the medical retirement life is, like, the sweet life. Like, you get the perks of being an athlete without the, like, pain and, like, working out and all like, there's no 6 a.m. wakes, like, all that stuff, and so, I really, really, really thought that I was gonna be done and I was gonna retire. And then I just had a lot of conversations. I prayed about it a ton because I was, one, just, like, confused, like, "Okay, God, what are you doing?" Because I thought, volleyball was it. I thought this is where you wanted me. Baylor, everything was going well too, so it seemed like we're, in the right spot doing the right things. And then, yeah, and then all this happened, and so now I'm confused. And ultimately came to the decision that I wasn't done. I didn't wanna be done. I didn't feel like the Lord had me being done playing volleyball after playing 13 games in college, so, decided to try to come back to play again, so I go into the doctor's office, and I was like, "Hey, this is what I wanna do." And she was like, "Oh, I thought you said you were done." And I was like, "Well, I was concussed at the time. I think anybody would've said that," but, so she was like, "Okay, well, now we have to, like, kinda start the ball rolling of trying to get you cleared to play again." So there's a lot of meetings that have to happen, a lot of paperwork, a lot of all the things, and then literally randomly one day, I'm still on the team, I'm just technically redshirting at the moment, at the specific time, but randomly one day I go into practice to sit at the table and, do score or whatever I can do on the sideline, and my trainer was like, "Hey, can you meet us upstairs for a meeting?" And I thought it was just another, like, checkup, like, I have to meet with the doctor, like, every other week, and then all of a sudden, it's like my trainers there, the doctors there are, like, sports admin guys there, and they're like, "Oh, and your coach is on the way," and they're like, "Can you get your parents on the phone?" And I was like, "What is this is, like, way too serious for, like, a checkup." I didn't normally, it's just me and her talking. And so then literally, I had no idea. They didn't give me any heads up. Get my parents on the phone or on speaker. Again, still, what am I, 18, 19 at this time? Like, I'm young, and I'm sitting there, and the doctor looks at me, and she's like, "We think it's in your best interest to involuntarily medically DQ you." And I was like, "What?" Because that's not I we had never talked about that. That was never even an option up until that point, and so I was so confused. My parents are on the phone, and they're like, "What? Didn't we talk about redshirting? Like, what happened to that option?" And she's like, "Do you have any questions?" And I was like, I like, I was literally speechless. I was like, "I don't have anything to say because I'm just confused." Like, it just kinda blindsided me. And, like, the coaching staff, everybody was absolutely amazing through the entire process. That just was really blindsiding, and so, yeah, I didn't know what to do. Like, talking to my family about it, I'm like, "Okay, so God, are you actually telling me to be done? Was I just, like, making a wrong decision?" So I'm just, like, even more confused now. So my parents, like, we go in and we meet with a bunch of people. We're like, "How like, can we get this reversed if we go get, like, other opinions? Like, how does this work?" And they're like, "Well, you can keep playing if you transfer because a medical retirement only applies at whatever school it's signed at." So I was like, "All right, I guess that's what we're gonna have to do." And so, being a private school for Baylor, they don't really do online classes that much. And so, I was gonna continue to school while being at home. I had to leave, obviously, because if I wanna keep trying to keep playing, I can't be on campus because after a medical retirement, you're not allowed to use sports facilities. And so, I move home, but now there's no online classes to keep enough hours to maintain the, like, eligibility for a scholarship. And so I'm just literally a college dropout. My mom would call me her college dropout all the time that entire fall. It was the fall of '24, and so I move home. I'm, like, working out. I worked out at a couple different places, my dad's a strength coach, so I'd go up to the school, work out with him sometimes. We had this trainer, he works with our whole family for, like, injuries and stuff, but he trains, different, like, NFL players if they're on the injury reserve or whatever, and they move home and come train. So I'm here training with these different NFL guys, like, it was and still a lot of them still keep up with me, it's actually really fun. That and, like, at Exos and all these different places, and then I'm going to like, play volleyball at my old club and just trying to, keep up because there's only so much you can do. And then, yeah, obviously the portal comes around in December and, it's a whole 'nother whole 'nother story, but didn't think I'd go to A&M, and here we are, so
You enter the portal. Were you surprised at the interest? I mean, you end up at a program like A&M. I mean, obviously, you had an ultra decorated high school career. You were excellent when you did play in college, but after kind of being told by a pretty big institution that you were no longer able to play, was it kind of a surprise to you how many other institutions were more than happy to take that risk? And obviously, at the end of the story, it paid off for all parties
yeah.
involved.
Yeah. No, 100%. Hey, when the portal opened, literally, we had some conversations in our house because I was just like, "I don't know if anyone's gonna" I literally was like, "I don't know if anyone's gonna want me." Also, the December portal is really active, so there's probably gonna be a lot of other outsides who had been playing that season and been doing other things other than sitting on their couch at home. And so I honestly was expecting, like, the bar was pretty low in my head, and literally my dad and I had talked about, like, different, like, group of fives or smaller schools like that. I was like, That's what we have to do. I might have to go there for a year and transfer up." I don't know. But, yeah, to my surprise, it was a Sunday. We're literally at church. I'm at church with my mom and my dad, and I have my phone, and I, like so obviously, like, normally you would think you'd be get in the portal at midnight on that night. There was some, like, paperwork things with compliance that hadn't gone through yet, so I didn't end up getting through till, like, 11, which isn't that crazy, but, the time that my name hit the portal was, like, 10 minutes before our church service started, and so we're standing outside, and, like, I'd grown up in this city, so everybody that's there has, been with Eli and I our whole lives, and, I get a text and they're all like, "Oh my gosh, like, let's see your phone, let's watch it all happen." And, like, my phone kinda blew up. And I was like, "Whoa, okay." So, also, again, church is starting, so I, like, put my phone on do not disturb, and I'm like, "We'll come back to that later." And thankfully, throughout that fall, one, I had gone through I'd been in college now for a year and a half to 2 years-ish, give or take, with moving home, but, um I knew what college looked like, I knew what I would want in a school, I knew what I wouldn't want in a school, and then while I was at home, I was watching a lot of other schools, asking girls questions about their coaches, talking to my club coaches to see what they knew. So I'd done my research, which was really helpful because then when all that happened, we got to dwindle it down a little bit. And so I was down to 3 schools and well, okay, I was down to 2 schools technically. A&M had never reached out. Fun story. They didn't reach out at this point, and so I was like, "Well, shoot." I'm, like, talking to these other 2 schools. One of them I didn't really like. The other one was the one I thought I was gonna go to, honestly. And then there was, like, some issues with getting cleared because I had, like, seen, like, different doctors and stuff, which understandable, but just was a pretty slow process, and so I wasn't sure if that was even gonna be possible. So I go to practice at my club, and so then there and I'm talking to my club coach, and he's like, "Oh, what about Jamie at A&M? Like, do you like them?" And I was like, "What do you mean, like, they never texted?" I don't like, I can't say if I like him, I haven't talked to him. He was like, "Really? Because Jamie called me. He said that he was interested in you, so I thought he would reach out." And I was like, nope. Weird, but no, he never reached out." And so here I am, I'm still confused, like, I had the 2 main schools that I was looking at, one of them, I had liked one of them really well, the other one I was kind of iffy on, and, so I was like, "May as well reach out to see." It couldn't hurt to, see all of our options, and so I the only way I could find to reach out to Jamie was to DM him because he did follow me on Instagram, which was it was weird, he followed me, he talked to my coach, and he never reached out. So I DM him on Instagram, and I'm like, "Hey, Jamie, I don't really know what to say, but, my club coach, Johnny, said that you had reached out and that you were interested, and I'm just trying to, go through schools and figure out where I want my new home to be, and, yeah, I figured I'd reach out." And he responded. I need to go find it. I've told this story a lot, and I've never actually looked at the exact words he said, but he was really excited. Like, he was like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like a fan." Like, I really I really, I've always loved watching you as a player, and yeah, and he was like, "Sorry I hadn't reached out. There were just things with, some girls were transferring, and they were just trying to figure out if there would even be a roster spot and scholarship and everything." So he hadn't reached out yet, but he was technically planning on it, I guess. But I just think it's a fun story that I reached out first. I always hold that over his head, but Yeah, so then I ended up going down on a visit. He was like, "Do you wanna come tomorrow?" And I was like, "Well, my parents have work, so we should probably, like, give them a day or 2 in advance," and so, we ended up going on a visit 2 days later, drove down to College Station, and we're, like, touring everything, and it was fun because obviously Eli had been there, so I knew a lot about it, and I'm honestly, like, teaching the coaches some things because 'cause they've only been there 2 years. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, like, back when Eli was here, like, we did it," and I'm, like, talking about all the different things in, like, the football facility, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, well" so I did know a lot about the school, but, obviously not much about the coaches in the volleyball program, so it was nice meeting them and going through all that stuff, but yeah, and then met with their doctors and get a call from Jamie 2 days later, and he's like, "Hey, you're cleared to play." And I was like, "Whoa," because this other school that I was talking to, they were like, "It might be a few months." And so it'd been 2 days, and I was like, "Alright, so God, I feel like this is where you have me," but I'm, like, obviously trying to, not play hard to get, but I'm, like, joking around with Jamie, like, "Hey, well, let me, like, think about it a little bit." So I, like, hang up the phone, go talk to my family and some of my friends, and yeah, then I called him back a few hours later.
What made you feel that Texas A&M would be the best fit for you? Because it sounds like you kind of chose this place more the way around.
There's one thing, like, I wish that I had known this when I was in high school, being recruited. Transfer portal's great, but, if you can pick the right home the first time, and obviously I'm not saying Baylor wasn't, it's just, the kinda just went the wrong way, but, you can pick the right home the first time, I wouldn't encourage the transfer portal. It's not necessarily fun, and moving that many times and all that stuff, but I wish that myself in high school would have known, like, what I wanted in college and not just volleyball. I don't know, A&M, like, knowing that Eli had been there too, like, the resources at A&M, the culture, the fan base, like, all of that is just so deep. It's something that'll last, like, a lifetime, not just something that will last while you're in college, and so that was pretty big to me, and that was something I'd already known from Eli being there. And then other, like, random little things that I cared about that I didn't know before going into college was, 1, travel. So, like, being at Baylor my freshman year, there was, like we were saving up to go on a foreign tour, so we weren't chartering, which, isn't a big deal, but so now we're having to bus 2 hours to Dallas to fly out, commercial. And so that was a huge thing, so now you're, like, missing classes and all that kinda stuff. And so I was like not that you have to charter, but then I'd prefer it to be a school that's in a city where there's an airport nearby. That and then also, like, you're looking at the ACC, like, if you're, at Pitt and you have to go play Stanford and travel hours across the country, that wasn't really something I would wanna do either, so there's stuff like that, and, like, the SEC is all really close, A&M charters out of College Station, so all of those things were really nice to have and things that I, like, kinda cared about. It just makes life easy, and being a college athlete across the board isn't necessarily the easiest thing, so ways that you can find those little things that make your life easier is amazing, and then, yeah, I think the one thing that I noticed and that everyone kinda noticed about A&M volleyball is just how much we love each other, but more importantly, how much the coaches love and support the players. That's kind of something that's hard to come by in the world of college athletics because it's a business and coaches a lot of the time need, their athletes to perform and it's not as much about, taking care of them as people. And so that was one thing I noticed pretty much immediately, whether that was watching games or also when I went down on a visit with them, how much they or even just phone calls with them. It's what's literally a family, and it still is true after being here for a year and a half. We'll go have dinners at our coaches' houses. We'll go watch our kids or I mean, our coaches' kids play their soccer games and, do all that stuff. Like, it's literally just a big family, which I think is really important to me because volleyball is not the end all be all. Like, the relationships to me are really important. So, that was another big thing. And also just volleyball specifically at A&M, like, the speed of our offense is very much so the way that I've done it my whole life and what works well for me. And it's also just, like, gritty. Like, that's our word is grit. But you could tell on the TV, like, it's just gritty. Like, no matter where the ball is, someone's going for it and they're working hard, and some teams aren't like that. Some teams kinda get complacent in different things, and it's definitely not something that I would ever use to describe A&M. Like, we're very gritty. We don't really get complacent and stuff like that. Whenever there's a ball, it's our job to go get it. So, I think those are a few of the things that sold me.
You get to the tournament, and then everything couldn't have gone any better. But I'll fast forward to the one real turning point game, which you get to the Elite Eight. You have to go to play in the Lincoln Regional in Nebraska. Craziest volleyball fans in the country. How do you guys go to Lincoln and take care of business? I can imagine what it's like to play there.
Yeah. Well, so a couple things. I mean, we played Louisville first and hardly take care of business. I mean, we had to work for that one in reverse sweep. So that was obviously not ideal, but we went through that and obviously we're like, I mean, gritty, that's just the word. Like, the play is not done until the play is done with us. And so did that. And then the thing that was also helpful was this exact team, other than me, pretty much this exact team had played in Lincoln in the Bob Devaney Center a year ago and against Wisconsin. So, in Wisconsin and Nebraska are rivals. So that was a really rowdy environment for them then. And so everybody had experience in it. And also, I mean, Reed Arena is not one to, you know, to laugh. Like it's also a crazy environment. So the environment itself isn't something that that was new to us. We'd been playing in Reed all year, and our fans are really loud and rowdy too. So honestly, I think that prepared us pretty well. I will say though, like Reed is kind of built out, whereas the Devaney Center is built straight up. And so like my ears were ringing. And like we've had more people in Reed doing the exact same thing they were doing, but just the way that the arena is built in the Devaney Center, it just echoes and your ears just literally start ringing. I'm going back to serve and I literally can't hear anything. So it was crazy, 100%. I actually saw like a TikTok today and I was looking at the comment and there was someone in the comment section talking about how just A&M last year, talking about us, like no one was going to stop us. Like, it didn't matter how good the other team was. Like, we just had that in us. Didn't matter who was on the other side of the net. We were just going to go take it. And I think that's exactly what it was. We just weren't scared. Like, we were going to go out there and play our brand of volleyball is what we say, no matter who's on the other side of the net. And I think that's exactly what we did. And I think kind of the same thing about Louisville. Like, honestly, I mean, it's also another game where I think we always just talk about like, getting in the flow of things. And I think that's exactly what it was. Like, you're not really thinking half the time. You can't recall half the game because you're just doing without really even thinking about anything. And I think that's really exactly what we did. It worked out.
Last thing, I'd be crazy not to talk about just understanding kind of your family and everything we've talked about is obviously deep faith. And it's come up in this interview already. First thing just to ask in that subject is there a favorite Bible verse or teaching of Jesus that you carry with you?
I have multiple because I think they just apply to different things in my life. So like I wear the number, I'll start with this one because it's pretty out there, but I wear the number 37, which is random. It is a football number. And I always joke about it. I'm like, well, I wear a Q collar, so I may as well wear a football number to just match. But no, so when I got in the portal and committed, I was looking at their roster and every number from 1 to like 15 was taken. I was like, great. So never in my life have I worn a double-digit number, but here we are, which is another parallel with Eli. He had never worn double digits till he got to A&M either. So I was like, well, I could do 17 because that's what Eli was at A&M, but I really wanted to have a number that had meaning to where if someone asked me why I wear that number, I could tell them a story about Jesus or about like my testimony and how I got here. And I was at church. It's always at this church. Go back to church like a week later. So now I'd committed. We're back and I sit down and pastor starts in Luke and he's like, okay, we're in Luke, verse 37. And he's like, and he reads it, it's like, for nothing is impossible with God. And I was like, that's it. I was like, that literally is the verse that describes like my whole story. Because how many people go from, it's funny because I picked that in the sense of like going from a medical retirement to, hey, I'm back playing volleyball again against all odds. And now it just is the gift that keeps on giving. Because you go from being medically retired to playing volleyball to winning a national championship to being the MVP. Like, it literally just continues to grow. So that's one of my favorites by far, just because of the way I get to use that to talk about Jesus. And also, it literally just, proves it's like my whole life. He's just proven that literally nothing is impossible with him. So that's one of my favorites. I also have I have 8 tattoos, and 6 of them are different Bible stories. So, yeah, I could go on for a long time, but I think that one is probably the sweetest because it is really personal to me. So,
of all the tattoos, it's very neat that you got 8 of them at the moment. Versus on the body, what do you think what's the one that like you kind of like, because that's a big commitment to make anytime someone does. What's the one that kind of like, I'm trying to think of the right way to ask it, but like, what's the one that brings you the most joy, you'd say, or is the one that you kind of look to the most of those?
So I have one pretty small. It's basically Jairus. I think he's a king, don't quote me on that, but a guy in the Bible, and his daughter dies, right? Or is dying, and he goes, sends some people to go find Jesus, and is like, hey, you need to come heal her. She's dying, like she doesn't have much time left. And then someone comes and they're like, it's too late, she's dead. And Jesus is like, no, where is she? Like, take me to her. And so Jesus goes to Jairus's daughter, and he looks at her and says, Talitha Kumi is the phrase. And that's the phrase I have tattooed on me. And Talitha Kumi, basically in English, just means, little girl, I say to you, rise. And so he said this to her. Obviously, she was dead and like raised her from the dead. But I think I got that one before the whole medical retirement, everything. And this one's just, I think, life and like a testimony in faith of before you know Jesus and then after. Like when you meet him, he's like, okay, little girl, rise, like, let's go. And I think that also, again, is another gift that's just kept on giving, because it was once like in high school, okay, like let's, let go of a lot of the things that I'd been holding on to. There was a point in high school where I was just at a really dark place. And so it was like, hey, like rise up out of that. Like, we're not going to be in this pit anymore. Let's, live life joyfully. And it's like, okay, that's the first thing. And now it's like, okay, let's rise and go win a national championship. Like, it's just crazy how all of these, like, Jesus literally just can connect the dots and weave this beautiful story. And so I think that one means the most to me, because one, I just think it's really empowering. One, like on the hard days, like it's like, all right, girl, let's go, let's get up, let's do it. And it's also it's not Jesus saying like, you go do it. Like, he's like, no, let's do it together. Like, rise, like, I'm here with you. Let's go do it together. So I think that's definitely one of my favorites. I actually can't even see it, so it's hard because I have it on my back, but it's definitely one of my favorites that I get to talk about, and just applies, I feel like, to life across the board and kind of everything that I do.